The gunshot that changed America still echoes with unanswered questions. John Wilkes Booth, celebrated actor, Confederate sympathizer, presidential assassin, left behind a trail of contradictions that historians still struggle to explain. Why would a man at the height of his career choose infamy over fame? How did a botched kidnapping plot transform into cold-blooded murder? And why did Booth's own allies whisper behind his back that he was a coward while he fancied himself a modern-day Brutus? Tonight, we peel back the layers of deception to reveal 12 chilling inconsistencies in Booth's story that continue to baffle experts to this day. A physician who swore under oath he knew nothing. A staggering $1.5 million bounty in today's money that went strangely unclaimed. A desperate midnight escape through the fog-choked swamps of Maryland, moving inexplicably toward enemy territory rather than away from it. And a final confrontation so bizarre it would rewrite the rules of engagement for pursuing fugitives. This isn't the sanitized version of Lincoln's assassination you learned in school. This is the raw, unvarnished truth, the story powerful men tried desperately to bury. Where every piece of evidence leads deeper into Booth's delusions, and every sworn testimony hides a carefully constructed lie. But before we begin, please take a moment to like and subscribe. Your support helps us bring these hidden histories to light. Following Abraham Lincoln's decisive re-election in November 1864, John Wilkes Booth assembled a small but dedicated group of Confederate sympathizers to execute an audacious plan. Their original scheme called for abducting the president and transporting him to Richmond, where he would be held hostage in exchange for the release of thousands of Confederate prisoners languishing in Union camps. The conspirators developed multiple contingency plans. One involved intercepting Lincoln's carriage en route to the soldier's home in March 1865, a plan foiled when the president unexpectedly changed his schedule, while another, more elaborate plot called for lowering Lincoln from his theater box using ropes after subduing him. But as the spring of 1865 unfolded, with Richmond fallen and Lee's surrender imminent, Booth made a fateful decision. Freeing prisoners would no longer change the war's outcome. On April 11th, after hearing Lincoln suggest voting rights for educated blacks, Booth's rage crystallized into something far more sinister. "Now, by God, I'll put him through," he reportedly told a co-conspirator. The abduction plot was dead. Murder was now the only option. Lincoln's assassination was never meant to stand alone. Booth envisioned a decapitation strike that would throw the entire Union government into disarray. His complete scheme, chilling in its ambition, called for simultaneous attacks on 4 key leaders: President Abraham Lincoln at Ford's Theater, Vice President Andrew Johnson at the Kirkwood House, Secretary of State William Seward at his home, General Ulysses S. Grant, originally slated to attend the theater with Lincoln. The conspirators assigned to these targets included Lewis Powell, a Confederate veteran, George Atzerodt, a German immigrant and boatman, and David Harold, a pharmacy clerk. Booth, ever the dramatist, saw himself as the lead actor in what he imagined would be a glorious revolution that might still save the Confederate cause. On the evening of April 14th, 1865, Booth moved through Ford's Theater with the ease of a regular patron. As a famous actor, he knew the staff, the layout, and even the timing of the play's biggest laugh line, knowledge he would use to deadly effect. At approximately 10:15 p.m., during uproarious laughter following the line, "You sockdologizing old man trap," Booth entered the presidential box undetected. The single shot from his .44 caliber Derringer pistol entered Lincoln's skull behind the left ear, lodging near his right eye. Major Henry Rathbone, Lincoln's guest that evening, lunged at Booth, only to receive a deep slash to his arm from the assassin's knife. In a move he had likely rehearsed, Booth vaulted over the balustrade, catching his spur on a Treasury flag and fracturing his left fibula upon landing. Eyewitnesses described how Booth paused dramatically on stage, fixed the audience with a glare, and shouted, "Sic semper tyrannis," Virginia's state motto meaning "thus always to tyrants." Some claimed he added, "The South is avenged," before disappearing into the night. While Booth succeeded in his mission, his co-conspirators failed spectacularly. Atzerodt, assigned to kill Vice President Johnson, got drunk instead and wandered the streets. Lewis Powell did attack Secretary Seward, stabbing him multiple times in his bed, where Seward was recovering from a carriage accident. But Seward miraculously survived. Grant had canceled his theater plans at the last minute, leaving his would-be assassin without a target. Booth's fractured leg made escape agonizingly slow. After meeting Harold outside the theater, they fled southeast into Maryland, stopping first at the Surratt Tavern to pick up weapons and supplies hidden there days earlier. By 4 a.m. on April 15th, they arrived at the home of Dr. Samuel Mudd, who set Booth's leg and allowed the fugitives to rest. For the next 12 days, Booth and Harold moved like ghosts through the Maryland countryside, hiding in pine thickets, bribing sympathetic farmers, and constantly evading the largest manhunt in American history to that point. Booth's diary entries from this period reveal a man alternating between grandiosity and despair, convinced history would vindicate him even as the nation reviled him. Cornered in a Virginia tobacco barn on April 26th, Booth refused to surrender even as flames engulfed the structure. "Tell my mother I died for my country," he called out before being fatally shot by Sergeant Boston Corbett. His last words, "useless, useless," might have referred to his paralyzed hands, the lost Confederate cause, or his own failed ambitions. Booth died believing his act would make him a hero. Instead, it left behind a trail of unanswered questions that still haunt us today. Why did Confederate sympathizers who helped him earlier ultimately betray him? How could a $1.5 million bounty fail to produce immediate results? What explains the series of incredible coincidences that allowed Booth to evade capture for nearly 2 weeks? We've examined every document, followed every lead, and still the full truth remains just out of reach. Was Booth truly the mastermind, or was he manipulated by shadowy figures? Did Dr. Mudd know more than he admitted? Why did Secretary of War Edwin Stanton's pursuit seem at times strangely ineffective? This isn't just history. It's a cautionary tale about the dangerous intersection of fanaticism and fame, about how one man's warped sense of destiny can alter a nation's course forever. The hunt for answers continues. Share your theories below. Like and subscribe to join our ongoing investigation into history's greatest mysteries. And remember, sometimes the most important truths are the ones still waiting to be uncovered.